Hey there! Today we'll have a look at a pretty big notebook. The notebook was sent to me by La Couronne du Comte. Thanks a lot. And this is a notebook by a brand that I enjoy a lot. Leuchtturm 1917. And this is their Master Slim. Now this is a large notebook. And what I have here is a sheet of A4 paper. So that's 210 millimeters by 297 millimeters, and as you can see the notebook is bigger than that. And it has some cool features. Of course, it's a little, I'm just going to say moleskin, we call it moleskine, whatever. It has some of the features that brand has too. The rubber band, for example. It has the bookmark, and it has a little name thing in the front. It also has some features Moleskine does not have. First of all, there is also the obligatory pocket in the back, which is pretty neat. There is a set of stickers you can use to label it, including a few for the spine, which I've always found a very cool feature of Leuchtturm 1917. A little booklet and a sort of a personal thank you card from Leuchtturm. The paper is 100 grams. And this is their dotted paper, dot grid, call it what you like, and it has 121 pages. Now something I've always enjoyed in Leuchtturm is that they number the pages, so you don't have to do that yourself. And all the way in the beginning is a table of contents, which I think is very useful, for example for students, but also businesses. You can actually give indications of your lecture notes, your meeting minutes, etc. That's very, very nice. I like this notebook. I like the paper. It's not without issues, but it's definitely interesting. Decently bound too. It is a hardback, but instead of talking about the paper, I think it's infinitely easier to just show you the paper. So let's do a writing sample with a whole bunch of pens, see what it does, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Thanks a lot again to La Couronne du Comte for sending me one. I appreciate it. Let's get this show on the road. Okay, so here we go with this very nice tabula rasa. Let's start with a bit of, this is a Japanese fine with carbon ink by Platinum. And what I want to do here, this is the Platinum Carbon Desk Pen. Is just give you a bunch of writing samples with different types of nibs, different models of pen, different brands, and different inks. Here we have a Fountain Pen Revolution Indus with Ackerman Royal Blue. One thing I've always appreciated about Leuchtturm is that the paper is slightly off-white, which makes for a nice visual appeal. It's not blinding. Here we have a fine Gamma Jumbo. I don't actually write down the pen names for this, but it was a reflex. So I'm just going to write the Quick Jumps Gamma pen. Yes. Alright. Another fine. I want to do a bunch of fines because I know people use a lot of fines, even though I may not. This is another Indus by Fountain Pen Revolution. Also Ackerman Blue, Royal Blue. Now let's move on to medium. It was an extremely loud motorcycle. Here we have a Mont Blanc Solitaire. Notice that this is the first pen that skips. Just priming the feet a little bit. Was Yamabudo, this ink. Here we have a Visconti Istos Arachnis in medium, palladium nib. and Akkerman Bekakt Haags brown. It's very pleasant to have paper this wide because you can really write on for quite a while on this paper. Here we have a Visconti Opera Master in the black guilloche. Ink is Diamine Marine. Now here we have a broad nib, and this is a pretty wet one too, Pelikan M101N, tortoise shell brown. How about a double broad Visconti Opera Master Demonstrator with Akkerman Shocking Blue. Nice smooth paper, not slippery smooth, but definitely nice. Here we have a Pelikan M1000 double broad. And let's move on to something a little fancy. Here we have a 1.3mm stub Akkerman Hofvijver Grijs Visconti Opera Crystal. And finally, I'm going to turn over the page just to create some space for myself, because the camera is set up. This is a custom pen, but this is the Franklin Christoph 1.9mm music nib, so this is a very broad one. And finally, I thought a 6mm Pilot Parallel would be interesting. With, oh, that was too bad, with something that may well be carbon black. There you go. Okay, now the big question, of course, is how well does the paper hold up? Feathering, I think you can see a little bit of feathering there. It's not extremely pronounced. Feathering in the normal writing, going from the Japanese fine all the way to broader nibs. I definitely think you can see some feathering, for example, right here. Right, you see that? This is when I just primed the feet of the Mont Blanc. You see some feathering there. And it continues with the broad. Of course, it depends on the ink you use as well, but I definitely think there is some feathering on this paper. Interestingly enough, on the ultra broad writing with this pen. I don't think the feathering is very pronounced, but even there, in the spots where a lot of ink has collected, you definitely see it. Okay, now of course you also want to know about bleed through. Well, for this calligraphy, I mean it's not calligraphy paper, but it has bled even onto the other page, and there definitely is show through. A little bit of bleeding right there, and on all the writing samples you can definitely see bleed through in some of the writing samples. On the whole, I would say it's not terrible, but especially as you move into broader and wetter nibs, you will have to bear in mind that this paper is going to bleed. For finer nibs, and that's why I wanted to do a bunch of fines, it's not really an issue. And the final thing I realized that I wanted to do was just a very quick bit of flex writing. So here we have a fairly wet flex nib. And there's definitely some bleed through there too. So there you have it, an interesting notebook, definitely very large, definitely very fascinating to use if you want to have a bigger notebook that really allows you to maximize the potential of the paper. I think this is very interesting. It is not 100% fountain pen friendly, but I think there is significantly worse paper in some notebooks. So in that regard, I think you could do worse than get this thing. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.